With more travel often comes more problems, so we had to get a set of Icon's Stage 2 2.5 EXP kit in to install on Jeff's Tundra, test them out, and see if all the extra work is worth all the extra performance. I'm Sean Bowman.
And I'm Jeff.
Let's talk Sean. For those of you who are new here to the Shock Surplus party, we like to test every suspension upgrade we carry on our own vehicles so we can provide real-world feedback to help you guys figure out if they're going to be right for you. We don't think there's a best suspension package out there, but there is probably a best option for you, and helping you guys figure that out is what we're here to do. Jeff's Tundra you see behind us has already been through the ringer on a fair few different suspension setups, and it's not even hit its second birthday yet. Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about the truck, how you used it, and what we've tested so far?
So pretty simple. It's 24 Tundra, non-hybrid, TRD off-road. Tires are on there, are a 315/70/17 positive 18 wheel offset, and some lights. We've tested out the iBox Stage 1, Stage 2, and now these Icon EXPs. As far as use case, this is the family hauler. Take the dirt bikes out to the desert, pull the side-by-side around, pull our small little camper to and from Big Bear, Mammoth, and my daily driver.
As you can tell, the truck's got to do a little bit of everything, and that's no easy task for suspension. I definitely recommend going on our channel and checking out those previous reviews so you can get the full breakdown of what they're like. And while you're there, make sure to hit subscribe and the bell icon so you're notified of our next releases so you don't miss out on any other good reviews. But to put it quickly, this is how all those options fell. The iBox Stage 1 kit wasn't necessarily bad, but nevertheless little more than just the lift itself. The front struts were essentially the same length as the TRD off-road Bilsteins we took off, so when we put those 2.6-inch lift springs on it, we had next to no droop travel. It made it really harsh. Now, tuning, valving, spring rates seemed to be pretty good, but with that lack of droop travel, it was real hard to live with. After that, we stepped up to the Stage 2R kit, which offered about an inch more wheel travel in the front. We tried to match the height, and it felt a lot better. The additional travel meant topping out happened a lot less, but was still prevalent. We ended up dropping lift down to 2 inches just to make it feel a little bit better. We still call these a great option for daily drivers if you're not wheeling that hard, you don't have giant tires, and you don't like to go fast off-road. But they definitely left us wanting for more for our specific use cases, and I think it's safe to say those Icons delivered and then some. Now, obviously, we're pretty big fans of the whole kit, but Jeff, to give everybody an idea of what's going on with it, can you tell them what's included with the Stage 2 kit?
So this is the Stage 2 tubular kit. You get 2 front EXP struts, 2 rear Icon 2.0s, non-reservoir shocks. They do offer the billet kit. But in addition to the Stage 2, we did add the rear springs, which got me about 3/4 of an inch of lift in the back. And we did that because I did want to maintain some rake on the truck.
You can go with the Stage 1 kit, which is just the struts and shocks and the sway bar drop or whatever. And Icon says you can go up to 2.25 inches of lift in the front without having to change your upper control arms. In this case, it's you need it for the alignment. But we think if you're driving enough off-road to want a 2.5-inch body strut or coilover in the front, you probably want to get those upper control arms anyway. The stock arms, the stock bushings and ball joints are relatively soft, and if you're wheeling it hard, you got big tires, you're gonna see some deflection. That's not good. I also think with how much travel you gain, you probably aren't getting all of it unless you have those control arms. I think we can both agree the upper control arms are a must-have, so skip the Stage 1 and go Stage 2. But where things get a little tricky is the front axle shafts on these Tundras. Now, from just Toyota directly, there are 3 different axle shaft options if you want to get technical about it. The base models use the black axle shafts. They use a tripod joint like we're used to seeing on Tacomas and 4Runners of old. They're a little limited on range of motion, and they're also a little short. Icon recommends you either upgrade to one of the other axle shaft options or run a diff drop with your kit, and if you have those black axle shafts, that is a must-have. Now, if you have a TRD off-road or a TRD Pro like Jeff's Tundra behind us, you're gonna get the red axle shafts, which use a RESPA joint. It basically has 5 balls on the inside and allows for a lot more range of motion. This is something that is generally seen at the OEM from brands like Porsche or Ford, or most aftermarket axle shafts use this design. Now, the last option are the silvers, which Toyota pairs with their TRD 3-inch lift kits. They use the same joints as the factory TRD Off-Road and Pro red axle shafts, but are a little bit longer. There is a little bit of an issue of spline engagement at full extension on longer travel coilovers, and this fixes that. Now, Icon says you're fine with the red axle shafts, and you don't necessarily need the diff drop or their axle upgrade, but do you think maybe it might be a good idea to do just in case?
I mean, if you want that peace of mind, having the silver axle shafts or the red shafts with the diff drop is definitely something that I wouldn't skip over.
Yeah, and Icon's diff drop is a bracket style diff drop, so it doesn't come with a lot of the drawbacks we're used to seeing with the spacer style, and they're pretty cheap, so you might as well. I think probably the real deciding factor is, are you wheeling hard and do you have a 35 or larger tire? If you have a lot of unsprung mass and you have a lot of leverage on the suspension, there is a good chance there's going to be some unwanted deflection both at the control arms and at the differential, which could introduce bind, although it wouldn't normally happen. Additionally, if you're wheeling it really hard, well, you're going to be forcing that deflection, so, you know, I think it is cheap insurance. As you can probably tell, we got along with this kit real well, so let's show you what they're all about.
All right, guys, we're in Jeff's Tundra testing this Icon 2.5 EXP kit. We already have a fair amount of miles on it. We're already big fans, so we'll do our best to be objective here, but pretty clear to say we really like it. We're on our normal industrial loop little street test, so you guys kind of know what's going on. We'll hit the bumps, we'll do the loop, but let's get after it, Jeff.
Oh.
So immediately, small bump compliance is probably better than we would ever expect from an Icon. Usually they're shaking the dash a little bit over these little bumps, but
Yeah, I mean, I've had Icons on my second gen Tacoma. They've always felt a little on the firmer side, a little harsh almost. These are comfortable.
yeah, they're very, very, very comfortable. And you know, you would hope so with a system this expensive, but like ultimately it really is surprising. Just for shocks, basically, is all they are. Now we're going up this big driveway at speed. No bottom out, no top out, nothing. It just ate that, and no second balance. And going over this cross articulation event, it's like it's no big deal. The truck is mostly staying straight. Previously on those iBox, I can remember the rear end wanting to just go all over the place.
Yeah, it skipped and hopped all over. The biggest improvement going up that driveway was the top out.
Yeah, it's just gone. And you know, you have to work for that extra travel. You got to cut some stuff. You have to have upper control arms. You might need a diff drop, but I think it's absolutely worth it because we're at the same 2.5-inch lift and we're not blowing out our top hats all the time. Coming down is really a great show of that added travel, because that's like dropping off like a 2 or 3 foot cliff, basically.
Yeah, it's a steep driveway.
Yeah, and it didn't top out, didn't hit hard. And then we're going into our simulated slalom here, and there is a little bit more roll than I remember with like the iBox, but like I kind of think that's a good thing, and I think the iBox weren't swaying as much, particularly up front, because they were just topping out. They were just running out of travel.
Yeah, no, in a truck, I don't mind a little bit of body roll. It still feels controlled, so there's no like downside to having that extra body roll, in my opinion, for my use.
Well, yeah, and it gives you that little bit of extra traction too, and then you don't want a perfectly flat pickup truck, because then you don't know when you're going to roll it.
Yep.
And we're going around the corner into this driveway, and it was like, I mean, that actually felt like it wasn't there.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have been able to do that in my life.
No, definitely not. And so this is a perfect example of where firmer's actually better. These are stiffer than the iBox pretty much everywhere, but that added travel made all the difference because, well, we weren't running out of it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, slightly firmer, more controlled, but still comfortable.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the harshness we felt was just we were feeling before. It was blowing through all of its travel all the time.
Yeah,
you know, it was using all of it, and that can feel harsh. Which not only do we have more travel, but we're not using as much. So this is a real winner. Now we're going to put it through its paces off road. We know it's going to do great, but you'll have to see how great they do.
We've been running through tons of options on this Tundra already. So you better subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified of our next releases because, well, we got a lot more coming along. We actually are finally getting our hands on a set of Bilstein 6112s and 6100s. We know you guys have been asking for those a lot, but if there's something else you want to see, make sure to leave us a comment below. Subscribe and hit the bell icon. I can guarantee you'll probably see it. And if those Icon 2.5 EXPs are sounding as kind to you as they were kind to us, mosey on down to that description down below this here video, and you might just find yourself a discount code. Now, let's get back to the live action. All right, guys. Jeff and I are here in the Tundra on our normal little hill climb at the testing area. We're trying to see how good these 2.5 EXPs are at this low speed kind of crawling stuff. This hill climb has holes that alternate per side, so it's a great place to see articulation. When this truck was stock, it didn't flex at all, right, Jeff? No. And then it was better with the iBox, but these icons are longer, so we're gonna see what they do. And as we go into this first hole, it's pretty big. Wow, this thing is flexing exponentially better. Maybe a little lift there, but that's not bad at all.
Yeah, you could definitely feel the extra length in the front end of the truck.
And it's transitioning load from side to side really well. Now we're up in the air right now, so we're probably gonna need a locker.
I was already locked.
Ooh, so we're gonna need a bump. Well, this little bump is gonna show us how even through this little bumping and bouncing, truck still feels really good. Just might be a little much for a full size half ton IFS truck.
I was a little ambitious.
Still, we wouldn't have made it that far on the iBox, I don't think.
Oh no,
because we were barely lifting tires. So we're gonna move a little further left because that hole was a little too big. But it's really walking up it, and it's transitioning from side to side as it articulates really compliantly. I am getting a little side to side motion, but this is a big truck.
Yeah. No.
And these are big holes, and so it's taking care of it really well. Now, we just went up. That really tests the rear articulation more than the front because all the load's on the back. And those the icons are a lot longer than the iBox. Coming down, we're going to see how much that added length in the front helps. And it's hard to get stuck going downhill. So we shouldn't have any issues.
We're going to go down on the left side over here.
Cool. Left side's got the big holes, doesn't it?
Yep.
All right. Well, we're coming down to the big holes. And, I got to say, they look bigger from the passenger seat than they do from the driver's seat. I'll tell you that. But it's handling it well.
Yeah, on the iBox, I was lifting.
Yeah, lifting tires. And, you might be you're up in the air. Yeah, up in the air in the right rear passenger rear. But, there's almost 2 feet between the fender and the tire right now. So that's a lot of flex. We are asking a lot of it. So, yes, it is lifting the tire, but it's flexing a lot before that happens. And the more you can keep the tires on the ground, the more stable it is, and the cab's staying really flat, which is really what you want. It's definitely probably a lot more confidence inspiring than it was previously.
Oh yeah, I would be curious to see how it is without the sway bar in the front.
Yeah, because it feels like the front end's being limited by the sway bar, and maybe it wasn't that much of a limitation on the iBox because they weren't that long, but these got a lot to travel, so there's probably more flex in it. And if it's a trail rig, you probably don't have a front sway bar anyway.
I think I could have made it at that right side if I didn't have that sway bar on.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so too, because it would have kept that front end down a little bit better. But once again, it outperformed what you would think your average half-ton truck should be doing.
Yeah, a half-ton truck really is. That's something that I would play around with in the Tacoma.
Yeah, that's mid-size territory, Jeep territory. So we're off to a great start. Call that an A+.
I agree.
All right, guys, we're down at obstacle 2. So it's called the frame twister. There obviously is some articulation involved because it is called the frame twister, but what this really replicates is your average rutted out rocky trail, which we think is going to be like what you guys are driving on when you say you're hitting a trail. What's important here is you want to have your compression dampening as compliant as possible so that it isn't beating you up, but you still need composed tuning on the rebound so that it's not bouncing and knocking us all around. So, you ready, Jeff?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's see how she does. I have some pretty high hopes because right over here, these icons felt pretty good.
Yeah, just this right over to get to this spot was great.
Yeah. So we're creeping through these rocks and over these holes and ruts and stuff like that. And as you can see, we are moving around a little bit, but it's not uncomfortable by any means. We're still keeping good traction, so the tires aren't like dropping off a step hard or coming unloaded, which is good. Probably not the softest thing out there.
No, but I still think that it's more firm, but it doesn't feel as harsh as with the iBox.
Yeah, and I think the iBox were probably so underdamped on rebound and limited in travel. You're probably getting that bounce. Now this is the worst part of it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't think that was bad at all.
That was pretty good. So, it is a little on the firmer side, but I think I kind of like that for when you're going slow, because I don't like that it taking multiple bounces over a hit after you're cruising over that low step where you're just So I think that was pretty good. I mean, we both moved around a little bit, but
yeah, it's firm, but it's like it's firm, but it's not harsh.
Yeah, it's controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe if you have really soft sensibilities, you're really sensitive to suspension, they might be a little firm for you. But I think for 99% of people, this is dead right for that kind of driving.
Yeah.
All right, we're down to the main road now. What we're doing here is testing these icons at varying speeds, starting from slower to faster, to see where they're happiest. This is a fairly washboardy road. It's got some ruts, it's got some gravel, and mini shocks struggle at lower speeds or struggle at higher speeds. So we're trying to find out what is the happy speed for these icons, which really we think is going to be a big factor in telling you if they're right for you. You ready, Jeff?
Let's do it.
All right. So we're doing about 10 right now, and they don't feel bad, but it's a little firm.
Yeah.
It's not terrible, but if you had to go 10, 15 now, it wouldn't be terrible. We're going up to 20, and as we kind of expected, they do feel a little better. At 30, it's starting to feel
It's
like
starting to smoothen out.
yeah, it's starting to feel like pavement. And at 40, you might as well be going down the highway.
Yeah, this is nice right here. 40.
45, yeah, seems to be where they're happiest, which isn't an obscene speed. And right now, I've driven cars that felt worse on the road. So this is pretty good. Maybe these aren't for you if you are the type of person who wants to go 5 miles an hour going down the trail. But if you want to get to the campsite in a reasonable amount of time, or wherever you're going off-road, these are pretty good. And like we're saying, as we're slowing down, they do firm up a little bit. But I think for most people, except for the grandmas out there, I think this is probably exactly what you want, right? Like you want to go regular speeds.
Yep.
Yeah, out on a dirt road. And now this is well graded, but we will be testing them to the limits on some whoop-de-doos in a second here, but safe to say, another A+, right?
I dig them.
All right, so we're about to hit the whoop section. This is where we test the absolute limit of these shocks. We'll be steadily increasing speed to see what they're happy with. These whoops are probably what you'd say 8 inches taller deep and about 2 feet apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is, still a lot for a bolt-on suspension system on a full-size truck. So we're going to get rolling. You ready, Jeff?
Let's do it.
Yeah. So this first section is really huge. So we'll just be keeping it slow through here. But this is really where you're going to find the benefits of that 2.5-inch body. So we're starting into the section now at about 25. No big deal. 30, even better. 35. The back bottomed out a little bit, but that's not too bad. They're only 2.0s. Wow, so we were able to
topped out at about 38 through that section. Now we're gonna rip around and go the opposite way. They're rougher the other direction, but we'll get a little better idea here. We can start off going a little faster. So we know, you know, they'll probably like about 30. And that was really surprising for me for just a bolt-on suspension setup. You could theoretically not rip whoops, but hit them.
And Luke is still in the back sleeping, so that means...
Yeah, that was comfortable enough for us to hit some big whoops, and the kid's still knocked out like a light. So I keep saying A+, but
I love him.
yeah, I love him. I might call that a B+, just because the rear shocks didn't keep up. But when you consider the pricing of the kit, that brings that up to an A pretty well. So they will withstand some partying, but like we were saying, if you do want to push it a little hard, you might want to spend the extra money, step up to the 2.5s in the back.
Yeah, like if we're talking just Icon, EXP, which are the fronts, A+, rears, they get a B for me.
Yeah, and once again, that's still better than any of the 2.0s we've tested on the other trucks in the back.
Oh,
yeah, so you're still doing pretty good.
Yeah, 2.5 EXPs in the rear would be... I think that'd be perfect for about 95% of the people.
Yeah, and maybe they might be able to give you a little softer like initial feel because you have so much more dampening force. So that might also help in the areas where they're going slow. But nonetheless, man, this is a fairly basic kit.
Yeah.
And we weren't doing any basic driving right there. All right, guys, in the previous sections when we were driving down the main road, to give you an idea of how they feel on a washboard surface, we found they're happiest at 40 to 45 miles an hour, which is all well and cool, but we're on dirt. So we kind of got to know if you can make a turn at 40 to 45 miles an hour. So we're hitting my personal favorite chicane here over at the test zone. It's a left and it's a right. They're sweeping corners. They're a little tight, but not crazy, and it opens up at the end. We're going to be able to see how this truck acts on the limit, whether it wants to just plow straight, rotate, or try to kill us. And we're going to see how much sway it has to basically know how predictable it is if a turn jumps out in front of you when you're going 45. You ready, Jeff?
Let's roll.
Let's get it. Once again, these are super comfortable on this washboard surface. We're thriving here. So we're about to turn in, a little lift off, dab of the brake, and it's very neutral. So just front tires are a little smoked, so it is going to be prone to understeering, but that seemed pretty predictable and progressive. Like the front end didn't just fall away on you. It kind of started to let go gently, and as you lifted off the throttle, hit the brakes a little bit, it tightened the line really well. So it seems to be very responsive to input and relatively predictable, at least. You want to give it another shot the other way?
Yeah, I'm gonna go this way right now.
All right, so we're gonna go the opposite direction as the second corner tightens, so it's a little bit more work on the suspension. Whoa, lift off oversteer, that's amazing. Was that like a little dab of brake?
Yeah, that was.
Okay, so a little trail braking and the rear end comes right around, but it doesn't snap. You didn't even have to do the toss or take your hands off the wheel or anything. Jeff just was in here just slowly correcting and it snapped right back, or it corrected, didn't snap back. It was very gentle. So, I mean, that's very, very, very good. You know, a truck this big is either gonna wanna, or any pickup truck is either going to want to understeer on entry or oversteer on exit, which it did a little bit, but all of those things happened in a manner that was easy to figure out. We're going for it one more time, just for good measure, because it's fun. And yeah, Jeff's at a good 0 counter right now. Just 0 counter, right? Like steering wheel staying mostly in the middle, which is, if he was racing, that's exactly what you want. So, I'm a big stickler for handling. I think these do great. I didn't feel a smidgen of body roll was almost non-existent. If there was any, it only aided in traction. It doesn't really weight transfer violently at all. Right there, we just got a little bit of understeer, but it was super progressive. Jeff handled it swimmingly. A lot of that's his ability to drive, but Cyclones make it pretty easy, huh?
Oh yeah, the predictability is I think key when it comes to stuff like that. You want to feel like you're driving on the road and you have that same amount of
Control.
control, confidence, and it makes stuff like that fun.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and even if you're just cruising down a fire road, there is still the likelihood that you're going to go beyond the limit of even a suspension system that is this good. And so you want to know what is going to happen when you go beyond the limit. I think the story today of these icons is, yes, we can find the limit, but even when you would exceed it, they don't do anything scary. That was a great one. Hell yeah, Jeff. GG. So on that one, he lifted off a little bit at the end, it felt like. The rear end came around. He caught it. Easy money. You know, we knew a digressive damper like the icons would be good, but
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
There's not much I could say other than it's comfortable, it's confidence inspiring, but
And enjoyable.
enjoyable. I was smiling all 3-4 passes that we took.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other story of these icons really is
it's making being out on the trail on this test day enjoyable, which I don't think the iBox were a lot of fun.
No.
Yeah. So if you want to have fun, they take care of you.
Yeah, I dig them.
As you might imagine, the huge increases in travel and those big fat bodies made a really big difference and a big improvement over the iBox we had previously. But all that extra travel and performance doesn't necessarily come easy. Jeff, can you go over some of the things we had to do and modify to make sure those 2.5 EXPs fit?
So all applications, you're going to need to cut out a little bit of that pocket where the lower strut mounts into the lower control arm, and use the sway bar diff drop to get that sway bar end link angle correct. And in my truck specifically, because I do have the TRD skid plate, you are going to need to drop that. Otherwise, that sway bar is going to hit the skid plate. Icon has a kit that we could get for you.
Yeah, and that's definitely something you're going to want to reach out to us about so we can make sure that we have a skid plate or there is a skid plate drop solution for these. It seems like a lot of the aftermarket armor manufacturers built their packages before suspension companies started producing their coilovers and stuff like that. So there's still a lot of skid plates out there that just don't have the clearance. That said, I can totally see how having to cut your lower control arm, space out all that stuff and do all that extra work and having to assemble them yourself with your stock springs and stock top hats can deter a lot of people, but I can say confidently it's worth the extra work. It's pretty safe to say we really, really, really love this kit as a whole. All that added travel and control netted us a lot more comfort with like, what was it, like 1.5 inches or 2 inches more travel than the iBox 2.0 coilovers we had before it. It made a really big difference, and even the rear end felt better even with all that extra travel. I think this is a perfect case, once again, where tuning isn't everything, and although being significantly firmer than both the iBox and stock, that added travel gave us the comfort and control to make the truck a lot more livable. They absorbed and dissipated rebound events a lot more succinctly. We hit our bump stops a whole lot less. All 4 tires stayed on the ground a lot more often, and the cab was generally flatter. Obviously, most of these gains we felt were off-road, but it has to be said, on the street, they were exponentially better. I tested a set on my Bronco, and I have to say, I have never done a single upgrade on any other vehicle that gave me more performance points per pennies. And despite this Tundra only getting a 2.0 rear shock, I think a very similar sentiment could be said about those as well. I can totally see how having to rebuild them at least every 40,000 miles, having to put them together yourself, cutting stuff, dropping stuff, and all that extra work might steer a couple people off. But if that steers you off, just pay somebody to put them in, because honestly, all that work is definitely worth it.
So this kit so far has been my favorite. Off-road, on-road. I mean, you see it in the video. Luke is sleeping in the back seat while we're off-road.
I forgot about that.
So, I mean, it's been a huge improvement, especially for my use case. Even when I'm towing stuff around and the front end is sitting, the rear end is sagged out because I have the dirt bikes in the trailer being pulled around. Going over dips, I'm not feeling that topping out happen when I'm towing. Off-road, so much smoother. I don't have anything bad to say. The only thing I do wish is maybe some 2.5 shocks in the rear instead of the 2.0s.
Yeah, no, definitely, you're right. I think that is the only place this kit really suffered, but I think it's pretty safe to say the next package has that issue licked.
Yep.
Now, we're subjectively really big fans of this kit, but let's be a little objective here. Jeff, who do you think this package might be best for?
So this is going to be perfect for anybody that wants a full 3 inches of lift, is a weekend warrior, and likes to play around when you're out on the dirt, and someone that wants a nice, smooth, comfortable ride in the dirt and doesn't mind having a little bit more road control and road feel on when you're driving to and from work.
Yeah, honestly, this kit was so good. I think it's easier to say who it isn't for. And I guess the only people who it isn't for are the people who are willing to spend that little bit of extra money for that little bit of extra performance and a little bit of extra comfort. And well, these are already pretty good. But like we said, there is always more to come here at Shock Surplus, and we got a lot going on in these Tundras. As we said previously, we're going to those Bilsteins I know you guys have been asking for.
So up next, we finally got the Bilstein 6112s, and now the new 6100s. Check these out compared to the old 5100s. I'm super stoked about these. I've been bugging Bilstein since I picked up the truck last year about when we were going to have these 6112s. Didn't know about the 6100s until recently, so I'm excited about that, especially since the 2.0 rears on the Icon EXPs were something that I wish had improvement, and I'm pretty sure this is going to take care of that.
Yeah, we definitely have high hopes for these, but you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed. You hit that bell icon so you're notified as soon as this and everything else we're testing is out. And well, if there's something you're looking to see, make sure to leave us a comment below. And while you're down there, if those Icon 2.5 EXP kits sound as good to you as they were for us, well, there might be a discount code down there for you. But in the meantime, we'll see you out on the trails.